Hello again, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Next up, our final keynote of the day, and that is unleashing the power of 5G, transforming industries and accelerating innovation. My guest is Ken Urquhart, Global Vice President 5G Satellite at Zscaler. Ken, hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, Mobile Magazine, having me at Cloud and 5G. Great to be here.
You are very, very welcome indeed, and you have the absolute privilege, if I can say it, of closing the show today. So the virtual floor is yours, sir.
Great. Let's close the show on a high note. Everyone's asking the question, how do I make money in 5G? How do I tailor my products and services to take advantage of 5G? And if I'm trying to sell those services to large enterprises, who's spending, who's buying, what are they buying, who's making the decisions? Let's take a quick look. So why are we here? Well, we're all here because we suspect, or we know, 5G is changing the world. Been a little slow in coming, what with the COVID-19, but now people are getting back on their feet, getting out there, and that digital transformation we've been expecting to happen is happening. It's already happening, and it's going to continue. 5G is driving new digital transformation. Why? It's fiber optic speeds without the wires. It's near real-time computing, and that's going to give you new use cases, new devices, new experiences. And because that speed is there and the bandwidth is there, that means more data. So you can derive a lot more insights, or you can end up drowning in the data. So lots of opportunities. And 5G may become the new enterprise network, as you'll see in just a little bit. And yeah, security is kind of top of mind. Security is, in fact, driving a lot of the move to private 5G networks. And my company's here to keep you secure, but this isn't an ad for Zscaler. This is a talk about 5G opportunity. All right, you ready? Let's go. So 3 data points. Oracle talked to a lot of corporations and said, well, what's the deal with 5G? Why are you adopting it? Look at this. More than 2/3. 5G-enabled services will be transformative to customers, not just their businesses, to their customers. So everyone's looking at it. Almost 3/4. It's going to revolutionize IoT. Why? Think of it. No wires, high speed, high bandwidth. I've seen IoT sensors available now, things like temperature sensors, flow meters, vibration sensors, with a 10-year lithium-ion battery and a 5G antenna. You can bury those things and forget them. You can snap them onto devices so you can get the data needed for digital twin, predictive maintenance, and you can do it without running copper in the factory. And more than 4 out of 5 said 5G networks are transformative and will having a lasting impact on the way they do business. So it's coming. Now, new use cases. Here's 26. What happens when you get the high speed without the wires and near real time? Virtual and augmented reality become really, really interesting. Normally, you need to have the round trip time between the headset and the workload providing you with the virtual world under 12 milliseconds. Beyond that, 40% of your people get nauseous if they have to use the helmets for a long time. Edge workloads, 5G, solved. No wires dragging around. Industrial IoT, yeah, just talked about it. Smart grid, smart cities. How about autonomous driving? There's one company I know, their solution is they will retrofit your vehicles. You can sit in a safe environment with your drivers, moving your trucks around the work site in dangerously hot environments, high winds, places you really don't feel comfortable putting people in the cab. You can take care of it remotely. Connected health, a lot more data going to your medical providers. Emergency management. Here's another one, precision asset tracking. I've seen some solutions where they can tell where the device is, well, where the 5G antenna is, within centimeters, not feet, not meters, not hundreds of feet, centimeters, inches. Now, 5G is already transforming industries. Who's spending what and where? Take a look at the right-hand side. private wireless deployments, factories, mines, ports, then research centers, smart cities, industrial plants. It's out of the research phase. This is into deployment. And you look by who's doing what. Manufacturing, line share. Why? No wires. Power cables are great. They have to be really carefully insulated and protected so you can't actually cut them, trip them, bend them, damage them. Ethernet? That's a copper wire. And you can step on it, bend it, hit it. Doesn't carry a lot of voltage, isn't going to be as well protected. And you have to move it through dangerous parts of the plant. 5G, batteries, you go out, slap the sensors on, put them in the hard to reach places. You don't have to worry about cable runs. It's transforming it in just even very simple ways and very powerful ways. Transportation logistics, on the move, again, no wires. Energy and mining, put a lot of infrastructure down in the mine without having to, again, put a bunch of cabling that's at risk of being cut, severed, and whatever. Then you get to telecoms. You thought telecoms were going to be the big spenders on this? Look at that, number 4. It's amazing. Now, let's drill down a bit. Who's spending? This is really interesting. There's this definite block of 3. Check it out. The purple, the orange, the gray, the light gray. And that spend has been projected to kind of continue the same way, each of them taking about a third of the massive spend in the market, which is currently around $3.5 billion. Transport and logistics, manufacturing, energy and utilities. So you're targeting your solutions. You want to sell into this industry, target them in those 3 verticals. The rest will follow. And you notice here, hiding in there, healthcare, not shabby, but still about a third of the spend of everyone else. Now, why? This is also really interesting. More secure than current communications methods. More productive. Wider support for digital transformation. Improved maintenance. Consolidating networks. Simplifying data collection. First and foremost, though, safe transmission of data. Big attributes. Now let's take that look down. Who's doing the deployments? Well, turns out it's now the IT department. This is really interesting because you notice 9% budget towards special initiatives on the right-hand side. That means we've gone from the experiment phase. We've gone from the R&D phase. We're now into deployment. We're where we thought we would be a few years ago. It's now, it's happening. It's time to think about this, time to get ready. But, here's the but. There's a steep learning curve. You're looking at marrying 3 different expertises into your organization. You've got your classic IT knowledge. You need that. You also now need telco knowledge. How do you set up and tune? How do you operate something like a 5G packet core and 5G radios? Not typical IT training. You can get it, but you're looking at hiring for a more diversified set of skills. Finally, IoT, devices. 5G enables you to put a huge number of devices lit up on the factory floor. How much? With 5G Advanced, you're looking at up to 1 million devices per square kilometer, which is a lot of things to manage. The other one, telco is a regulated environment. 5G is not like Wi-Fi. You don't just set it up and turn it on. I know you've heard that there's dedicated frequency bands, kind of like Wi-Fi, in the citizens band radio spectrum, CBRS. It's still regulated. There's some additional things you have to do when you set up your radios. You don't just turn them on because you may conflict with existing telco systems, and governments don't like that. You'll need to do some additional registrations. Again, it's just different. And 5G radios aren't really like Wi-Fi. You got this thing where you have to tune them. Again, right now in enterprise, that's kind of a niche expertise. It's there. People are available. But expect to spend some time optimizing your radios. But what's the bonus to that? Well, I've seen factory deployments where they've taken hundreds of Wi-Fi endpoints and replaced them with 7 5G antennas with the faster coverage, faster throughput, far more devices. There's real value there, even if there's a steep learning curve. And companies are taking that risk, and they are climbing that curve today. Are you? Well, your competitors probably are. Okay, use cases. What's really happening with 5G? 6 big use cases have emerged. Portable robotics. These are automated guided vehicles. You'll hear the term AGV. These are the things that used to reduce labor costs, ensure worker safety, accelerate processes, things like being able to move very heavy pieces, like you see the paper rolls in the lower image, move things without human interference to where it's needed, when it's needed. Interesting thing about paper products, they absorb Wi-Fi signal. Had one customer said, I love private 5G. I can actually get signal throughout my factory because the paper was sucking up the Wi-Fi frequencies. Smart grid. Remember, 1 million devices per square kilometer. Think of what you can do in a city with that. Think of what you can do out on your farms, in your energy production facilities. And the other one is 5G uses a lot less power to transmit than Wi-Fi alternatives, even 4G. Up to what? They're saying you could save half, 3/4, sometimes 80% of the power, depending on how much data you need to transmit. Asset tracking. What's, where, and why. With the 5G antenna systems comes new technologies for ultra-precise positioning. As I said earlier, 10 centimeters? Yeah, that can be happening. Drones, remote inspection, dangerous locations, bridges, structures out over the water, long pipelines, places where getting in there is difficult or sometimes impossible depending on time of year. Sheet ice on the ground, drones can still get in there. They can take 4K, 8K cameras. You can use them autonomously or under human control. Remember, on an open area, you can have your signal extending miles away, so you can get a lot of coverage. Autonomous drones for watching high security areas, they can just be moving around with AI-enabled cameras with edge AI and edge inference, be able to tell you when things change. So you don't really have to pay attention unless something happens, something changes. Did the pipeline spring a leak? Well, drones will be able to detect in real time something changed and alert you. Remote controlled cranes and machines, again, where it's difficult to work. Think of ports where it gets to be 120 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. You can't have people up in the cabs. Yeah, there's air conditioning. Sometimes it's inadequate, or there's a high wind warning, or there's some other reason they can't be out there. You can have them safe in a concrete building, out of the way, controlling the cranes in near real time. And again, not have to run miles of fiber to accomplish that. Predictive maintenance, battery-powered sensors anywhere you need them, small form factor, don't get in the way, don't require you to have people running cabling in hazardous areas. And because you can increase the number of devices, you can prevent downtime, reduce costs, enhancing production and automation. Let's take a look at an example. Mining and mineral extraction. You can have autonomous vehicles in hazardous areas. I know mines today where there's a 5G private system on every level of the mine. Real-time object tracking. Know where your people are, know where your stuff is. If there's an emergency, know where you can get the stuff you need and be able to know where it is, how available it is, and how much there is. Telemetry for real-time estimates of job completion, information about vehicles, engines, fuel. You can monitor driver, passenger, vehicle health. Think of what that does for you. And not just think of that. You've got 3 vertical sectors paying money for these solutions today, but once you develop them, you can deploy them into other verticals because they're coming along too, and their spending is growing. But you can get ready today. You can be profitable with your solutions into this market today. So let's look transforming at the speed of 5G. When 4G rolled out, you had three technologies coming together. Faster wireless, smartphones, and cloud. They reinforced each other. 160 new revenue streams, each creating over $1 billion of new value. And that's 15 times more than 3G. When did the market disruption happen between 3G to 4G? When you went over 25, 30% market penetration. Now let's look at 5G. Look at the confluence now. 5G, edge, ultra low latency, AR, VR, cloud, industry 4.0. Hey, I know they're calling it industry 5.0 now. Robots, autonomous vehicles, drones. Huge number of combinations you didn't have in the 4G era. Far more value being generated. Faster, different ways. Real technological diversity. When did 5G reach its 25% market penetration? Oh yeah, this year. So expect to see some big changes. Now, if you're ready for 5G, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. How could 5G power new alternatives to my existing products and services? What are not unique about your offerings that could be displaced by competitors if they incorporate 5G experiences? And how could your competitors deploy 5G to compete more effectively against you? Time to start thinking about those questions, because others are actively. I work with them every day. We're working towards securing private 5G, edge, even satellite that's going to interoperate with 5G. And that's it. Short and sweet. Closing out the keynote. Got questions? You can ask them now. Or scan the QR code, connect with me. Let's talk further.
Ken, thank you very much indeed. You have rounded up 2 days of the progress, the potential beautifully in that final keynote. So thank you very, very much indeed for that, especially going through some of those use cases there. It really brings to life a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last 2 days. A couple of questions from me, if I can jump in quickly.
Certainly.
About the adoption of 5G, as you say that it's really made that step in the last year. Do you think COVID was the big thing that slowed things down, or were there other factors in play?
Well, a lot of factors, some major, some not so major, but a lot of it just everything took a pause. That's just how it was. But also things like I said, steep learning curve, unfamiliarity. IT department, I know there was some bought a private 5G system from vendors. It sat there for a while. Several months of configuration. Issues. Throughput not right. Tuning radios. Unavailability of radios in, like, for example, the citizens band radio spectrum, the sort of like the Wi-Fi of 5G spectrum, so you don't have to do licensing other than to inform your telco regulator that you're using it. That wasn't even available formally until this year. In America, it's called Band 48. Best you could do is some adjacent bands. You could get approval for experimental use at very low power. So you could test it provided you didn't interfere with other, telco radios operating in your vicinity. And now we're getting past that this year. And, as I said, there's still some growing pains, but you're starting to see fully configured private systems available that more or less work outside after you unpack them and set them up. And that wasn't true 2 years ago. You're often facing months. I remember I set up a core, it was 2 years ago, 6 months before we actually got it to the point that I'd say it was usable in production. Now, days. Soon, out of the box, plug it in, connect it to your local network, connect it to the cloud, you're up and running.
Now, you were somewhat throwing the gauntlet down to people. If you're not exploring this technology, then frankly, your competitors probably already are, because you may have already spoken to them. So if there's a business out there that is thinking, right, we've got to take action on this, this is the future, we've got to start going down that road, what advice would you have of making those first steps? Well,
you can rent units. You can buy units. The cost has come down considerably. You're not looking at, millions of dollars, millions of pounds. In some cases, you're looking at low 6 figures now for a fully operational unit. And you can support, hundreds of SIMs, thousands of SIMs, tens of thousands of SIMs. That's available now. But before you even do that, think about what a high-speed wireless solution for your networking, secure, can do for your business. What happens if you're not in the business of running copper or fiber? What happens when adding a new sensor involves putting a battery in and sticking it onto a device? Think of all your turbines, production lines, things where you're monitoring temperature, pressure, vibration, being able to do that in an afternoon once you're set up. Not having to worry about cable runs anymore. These, while they're very basic, cause massive transformation. The ability to say, oh, I can put 1,000, 10,000 devices onto my 5G network when I would have to say, oh man, I got to put another 150 on, 200. I've got to lay more hotspots down, rearrange my Wi-Fi topology. It just, it gets easy once you're over the initial learning curve.
And the final question I will ask is we're looking forward to the future of 5G. We're already talking about 6G. How important is it that people almost future-proof themselves to know that this is going to be the path we're on? We're not looking backwards anymore. How important is it to future-proof yourself against this, so you can embrace what's coming next?
Well, for one thing, you are future-proofed by the 3GPP standards approach. 5G, backward compatible with 4G. So if you've got private 4G, and there are a number of organizations running private 4G right now, there is backwards compatibility. So you can move to 5G antennas and speed, keeping the 4G infrastructure, and then move over to full 5G. And we're not quite onto 6G, we're talking about it, but what we're looking at is 5G advanced, where you're getting a lot of really interesting things like the ultra low latency, massive device scalability, very fine-grained location services available to you on a private system. So it is now, the revolution is turning into the evolution. And that's going to benefit everyone. What you don't, it's like, I'm going to wait, I've heard this, I'm going to wait 2 more years for 6G. Well, a lot of 6G is going to look like 5G. They're going to throw in some AI that's, not chat GPT AI, which is, has some bumps still on the road, but a solid, understandable AI that will make the network's performance even better, setup even better, configuration management even better. So getting in now, you don't lose anything, and you've got everything to gain as the evolution continues.
And that is one of my favourite quotes of the event. The revolution has turned into the evolution, and that is a beautiful way for us to finish proceedings today. Ken, thank you so much for your company. Really enjoyed your presentation today.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for spending the last 2 days with us. This has just been an amazing event. That's why I love presenting here. Thank you to Mobile Magazine, and thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.